For 10 consecutive years, she was the best-selling author, and also my wife. After her latest book Starry Sky became a huge hit, she announced her retirement from writing. At the book signing event, she held the microphone tightly, tears welling in her eyes. I dedicate this book to the memory of my lost youth. Her deep affection moved the entire internet, and countless fans were left in tears. But I sat in a high-end restaurant I had reserved 6 months in advance, tearing up the film adaptation contract she had always dreamed of, replacing it with a divorce agreement. Later, I left with style, heading across the ocean, while she searched for me in a frenzy. Chapter 1. When Chloe returned home, I had just sold my company shares, kicking off her high heels. She complained, "Why are the lights off?" "I don't like it," I responded coldly. Chloe furrowed her brows, but didn't say much. It wasn't until she entered the kitchen and saw that dinner hadn't been prepared like usual that she pointed at the cold stove and scolded me. "William, what's wrong with you? Today is our 7th wedding anniversary. You couldn't even make dinner." "Why should I make dinner?" I countered. Perhaps my odd attitude triggered Chloe. With a slap, she threw her bag in my face. "William, are you giving me attitude? It's just a little late. I told you. Today is my new book signing event, and my last fan meeting before I retire. Are you asking me to leave all those fans behind just to have dinner with you? Does that sound right?" Not right. But it seemed fine to her to publicly declare her love for Orion on this day. Sitting on the sofa, I suddenly felt like a fool. I threw out the words, "Chloe, let's get a divorce," and went upstairs. The sound of water running in the bathroom. I wiped my face. An hour ago, I was waiting in a restaurant I had reserved 6 months in advance, expecting Chloe to keep our date. Today was our 7th wedding anniversary. Chloe had promised me a surprise. I also held her eagerly awaited contract for the film adaptation of her new book, imagining countless times the joy she would feel upon receiving it, until just before the signing event. Chloe had messaged me, "Hubby, I'm a bit busy today. Wait for me. Kisses." A wave of sweetness flooded my heart, and I replied that it was no rush. Casually opening the live stream of the signing event, Chloe stood in a white dress, tears in her eyes, holding the microphone as she choked up and began to speak. "Thank you all for your support. Starry Sky is based on real events, and it records the innocent love between me and my first love, Orion. This book holds my entire youthful, naive memories, and I have decided to retire from writing after this." I froze in place, while thunderous applause filled the live stream. Countless fans rushed forward, asking Chloe about the outcome of her romance with Orion. I held my breath, until she spoke again, her eyes red. "My love left me when I was 18. I've missed him all these years." My heart shattered. I didn't even know how I made it back home. If Orion was her true love, what was I to her? What did 7 years of marriage mean? Chapter 2. After my shower, I started packing my things. I didn't know when, but Chloe had appeared in the bedroom. She looked at my actions, and for the first time, I saw a hint of panic in her usually calm eyes. She grabbed my hand and spoke. "Hubby, I know today's incident made you angry." I paused for a moment, and my movements came to a halt as well. Chloe continued, shaking my arm and acting coquettishly. "I was late for our anniversary. It's my fault. I even saved a signed copy of Starry Sky for you. Aren't you happy?" Looking at the book in Chloe's hands, with Starry Sky printed on the cover, I only felt mockery. On our wedding anniversary, she was reminiscing about her late first love, and now she was dragging me into it too. I pushed the book away, coldly saying, "You can keep the book for remembering Orion. I don't need it." Chloe's face turned pale instantly. She tried to say something, but I had already grabbed my luggage and walked toward the door. Seeing my resolute back, Chloe lost her temper. "William, are you done? Orion has been dead for so many years. Do you really need to argue with me every day over a dead person?" No, there was no need, but I knew that in Chloe's heart, Orion was never just a person who had died years ago. His habits, his hobbies, every word he said, every expression he made, they were always present in our life. After 7 years, I thought I had finally warmed Chloe's heart, but I never imagined that in the deepest corner of her heart, the person she still longed for was Orion. Since in this 3-person relationship, I had always been the one excluded. Fine, I would step out. Chloe was also furious with my silence. She threw our wedding photo from upstairs at my feet, as if venting her frustration. "Fine, you go. If you're leaving, don't come back. Tomorrow, we're going to the civil affairs office to divorce." On the desolate street, I dragged my luggage, walking alone. I couldn't help but think about the past between Chloe, Orion, and me. I knew Chloe had a deceased first love. Orion had been a huge part of her youth. Almost from start to finish, they went to school together, painted together in art studios, and shared their innermost feelings, until Chloe's 18th birthday, when Orion missed her coming-of-age ceremony because of an important art competition. That day, Chloe had an enormous argument with Orion, even saying that if he couldn't come back in time, they'd break up. In a desperate attempt to make it back, Orion risked crossing the railway tracks, only to be struck by a train that had unexpectedly arrived. The speeding train left no trace of Orion's body. Chloe was devastated, even trying to commit suicide by lying on the tracks. When Chloe's parents brought her to the hospital, I happened to be interning in the psychiatry department. To cure Chloe, I spent nearly every day and night in the hospital. In the end, Chloe finally opened up and we developed feelings that went beyond the doctor-patient relationship. When Chloe shyly handed me her short story and confessed her love, I hesitated, but love won over reason, and I accepted her confession. Chloe had a dream of being in the film industry. She always hoped her works would make it to the big screen. For Chloe, I gave up my passion for medicine and invested in a film company. I had always believed that my relationship with Chloe was unshakable, but today, I realized how ridiculous I was. My phone rang in my pocket. It was a call from my godmother. "William, you really sold the film company. That was your life's work. I asked you to sell it and move abroad with us, but you refused. Why suddenly? If I want to sell it, I'll sell it." I interrupted my godmother. "Godmother, I want to move abroad." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, and then she became ecstatic. "William, you finally figured it out. That's wonderful. When will you come? I'll be going back to China next month. How about tomorrow? I'll book the flight." After booking my flight, I spent the night at a nearby hotel. Chloe didn't call me. Instead, she posted on Twitter. I glanced at it. She was at the school Orion once attended. She had taken a photo with Orion's teacher, captioned, "The best teacher in the world." In the background of their photo, there was a large landscape painting hanging. I recognized it immediately. It was Orion's final painting. Not only did she publicly declare her love for Orion on our wedding anniversary, but after our fight, she was casually visiting Orion's mentor. Even though I knew that in Chloe's heart, I meant nothing. Seeing that post still made me sneer. Something inside me shattered. I threw my phone aside and buried my head in the pillow, falling into a deep sleep. Chapter 3. I was awakened by the frantic ringing of my phone. It was Chloe's best friend calling. "William, Chloe's drunk. Can you come and pick her up?" Without a second thought, I declined. "I'm not going." Chloe's best friend immediately panicked. "William, what kind of person are you? Do you even know that Chloe sold the rights to Starry Sky at a low price just so your company could run smoothly?" "Yes, she said those things in front of the media, but she did it to make a quick sale. Chloe has worked so hard for you, and you're treating her like this. I'm really heartbroken for her." I was stunned. Chloe sold the rights to Starry Sky at a low price to help my company. How did I not know this? Then, I remembered the film adaptation contract I had prepared for Chloe that day, and I found it all to be so ridiculous. You can think whatever you want. Anyway, Chloe and I are done. I hung up the phone, but after some thought, I felt like I should at least clear things up with Chloe. I took a taxi to the bar Chloe's friend had mentioned. True enough, Chloe was slumped in a booth, completely drunk. As soon as she saw me, her eyes turned red, and she threw herself into my arms, saying, "Hubby, you're finally here." Chloe nuzzled against me like a little kitten. Her affectionate gestures and dependent words made it hard for me to push her away. I couldn't help but think, maybe everything really was a misunderstanding. But the next second, Chloe wrapped her arms around my neck, and tears began to fall onto my clothes. "Orion, you're finally here. I thought you were angry with me and wouldn't come back. I got all your paintings from the teacher, and I've raised the money for your exhibition. You won't have to worry about no one seeing your work anymore. I'm going to hang your paintings all over the city. I want the whole world to know that Orion is the greatest artist." My body froze, and when I reached out to touch Chloe, my hand just dropped, because I couldn't paint. The one who loved painting was Orion. I still helped Chloe back to our home. Like usual, I helped her take off her coat and shoes, then carefully wiped her face with a towel. When I went to unfasten her bra, Chloe, who had been semi-conscious, suddenly snapped awake. She stared at me warily and said, "What are you going to do? I'm telling you, I'm Orion's girlfriend, and I won't be with you. If you come any closer, I'll call the police." My hand froze in midair, but the next second, Chloe suddenly collapsed onto the bed behind her, falling into a deep sleep. It dawned on me that everything just now was just her drunken rant, but what no one knew was that even after 7 years of marriage to Chloe, I had never touched her, not even a single finger, because she always said she wasn't ready. But now, it was clear, she wasn't just not ready. She had someone else in her heart, and that was why she couldn't accept anyone else. Looking at Chloe's peaceful sleeping face and hearing her mumble Orion's name, I knew it was time for me to leave. I took out the divorce papers I had printed long ago, placed them on the bedside table in the most obvious spot, and quietly closed the door behind me as I left. However, while waiting at the airport, I still saw the large headline trending on social media. Famous author holds art exhibition for deceased lover. 8 years of devoted love unchanged. The glaring headline felt like a slap to the face, but I didn't feel anything. I simply pulled out my SIM card and threw it in the trash. Even before I discarded the card, I had seen that Chloe had called. Chapter 4. By the time the first light of dawn touched the earth, I had already arrived abroad. Auntie and her family came to pick me up from the airport. Everyone gave me a big hug when they saw me. William, welcome back. Auntie's daughter, Grace, couldn't stop teasing me. William, didn't you say you wanted to be a big director? What happened? Haven't seen your debut film and you're already back. Where's your wife? Grace looked around behind me, and I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Auntie nudged Grace with her elbow and then gave me a warm hug, saying, William, welcome home. For the next few days, Auntie made sure Grace stayed with me, treating me to food, drinks, and entertainment, always worried that I might not be happy. Occasionally, Grace would ask why I came abroad, but I chose to remain silent. It wasn't until the weekend dinner that Auntie received a call from Chloe. After a brief moment of hesitation, she asked if I wanted to take the call. I chose to decline, but Chloe's voice suddenly came through the speaker. William, I know you're listening. I have something really important to tell you. Can you please pick up? Reluctantly, I took the call. Chloe, her eyes red, asked me, William, why did you leave without a word? Her question left me speechless, and after a moment of silence, I reminded Chloe, we're getting a divorce. Chloe immediately shook her head, like a child. No, I don't agree. We can't divorce. I remained silent, but Chloe seemed anxious on the other end of the line. William, did you hear something? Those are all lies. It's just the reporters making things up. Please listen to me and let me explain. There was nothing to explain. Some things had already become a foregone conclusion, and no matter how much I tried to deceive myself, I couldn't hide it anymore. I calmly told Chloe, the divorce papers are on the bedside table. Sign them and let me know. Without waiting for her to say anything else, I ended the call. I handed the phone back to Auntie and saw the news of Chloe and Orion all over the place. How laughable. She could explain things to me while still reminiscing about her love for someone else. There was no pain in my chest. I thought to myself that I must have become numb to her lies. As expected, Grace eventually figured out what was going on between me and Chloe. After the family dinner, she asked if I wanted to work at her company. I declined, saying I wasn't interested. I wasn't the type of person with grand ambitions. The reason I started that film company was all because of Chloe. Now that I was apart from her, I had no interest in pursuing anything else. Grace's eyes, however, flashed with a mischievous glint. Next month, there's the world model competition, and our company has secured a spot. Are you sure you don't want to come? My eyes lit up. I had always loved models, to the point of losing track of time when I was at it. I had won countless awards during college. Years ago, when Auntie invited me to come abroad, it was because the modeling clubs abroad were starting to take shape, and she believed I could make a big impact in the field. But for Chloe's sake, I had given up on my dream and devoted myself to being by her side. In the end, all I got was her deep betrayal. Now, this rare opportunity was in front of me, and I didn't want to let it slip away. I immediately accepted Grace's offer. After years of not touching models, I thought I'd be rusty, but to my surprise, the muscle memory still remained. After just a little training, I was able to get back into the groove of it. There were voices of doubt, but Grace blocked them all. She said, William has been specializing in this for many years. I believe in him. Soon, the day of the competition arrived. In the waiting room, I nervously adjusted my breathing, and Grace, with her fists clenched, handed me my favorite drink. Good luck, William. You've got this. With her encouragement, I stepped onto the battleground I hadn't faced in 10 years, and then I won the championship. Thunderous applause erupted throughout the arena, and everyone gathered around me. Even Grace's eyes filled with tears. Amidst the congratulatory shouts, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Chloe. When she saw that I had won, she immediately rushed to the stage, wanting to give me a big hug. I dodged her. The move made Chloe feel hurt, but soon, she composed herself, a bright smile on her face as she congratulated me. William, congratulations on winning the championship. Thanks, I said flatly. After expressing my gratitude, I turned to leave, but Chloe stopped me and quietly asked, William, when are you coming back with me? Come back. I had never considered that question, but seeing the hope in Chloe's eyes, I still found it somewhat laughable. I'm not coming back, I said. I've already told you. I want a divorce. Chloe grew anxious. William, I know you're angry, but haven't you been upset for long enough? Even if you're unhappy with me, surely that anger has been vented by now, right? Come on, let's go back together. Let's go back to the way things were, just like before. Chapter 5, A Temper Tantrum. So, all my disappointment and sadness were nothing more than a temper tantrum in Chloe's eyes. I suddenly found it ridiculously laughable, and shook off Chloe's hand, saying each word clearly. I'm not throwing a tantrum, I'm serious. Since you can't forget Orion so easily, I'll step aside. From now on, you can freely memorialize him without anyone getting in your way. But Chloe refused to let go of my hand. Under the spotlight, someone recognized her and started taking pictures like crazy. The microphone was shoved in front of her face. Chloe, are you the author of Starry Sky? Didn't you say before that you were going to stop writing in memory of your late lover? Who is this man? Do you have a new lover? What does Orion mean to you? One question after another struck like thunder, and Chloe couldn't answer any of them. Seeing her face turning red, I suddenly found everything utterly ironic. I let out a cold laugh and walked off the stage alone. But these reporters were more persistent than I expected. When they couldn't get any answers from Chloe, they shoved the microphone in my face, firing questions that were brutally sharp. Mr. William, are you the third party in Chloe and Orion's relationship? Why are you ruining their relationship? Fighting for the love of a deceased person. Don't you feel any guilt? I glanced at Chloe beside me, her lips tightly pressed together, not a word of explanation escaping her. She let the malicious speculations drown me. Finally, it was Grace, unable to stand it anymore, who pushed through the crowd to stand by my side and block all the ill-intentioned questions. What are you all saying? William and Chloe are legally married. They've been married for 7 years. As for that Orion, I've never heard of him. Even if there was a third party, it would be him. Grace's words immediately shifted the attention, and all eyes turned to Chloe. Under everyone's gaze, Chloe couldn't lie anymore and had to admit our relationship. Not only that, but she also seized the opportunity to tearfully ask me, William, I did all of this to fulfill Orion's last wish. Now that his wish has been fulfilled, will you come back with me? No, I refused firmly. Sign the divorce papers soon. I don't want to take this to court. I walked away with large strides, leaving Chloe behind, calling my name desperately, but her voice was drowned out by the reporters gossiping. Chloe and I both made the trending news. I don't know who made it their business, but they revealed everything about the years we spent together, including the time when Chloe had tried to take her life and how I had stayed by her side, helping her get through it. Looking at the overwhelming discussions online, I had a moment of disorientation. I had done so much for Chloe, but it no longer mattered. Now that I had decided to let go, the amount of effort put in meant nothing. As for Chloe, faced with the media's intense bombardment, she was running around, utterly overwhelmed. But no matter what the outside world said, Chloe still refused to divorce me. She even publicly claimed that everything was a misunderstanding and that we wouldn't separate. I found it laughable and didn't intend to waste any more time on the matter. I immediately filed for divorce, but I didn't expect her to show up at my house to celebrate my victory. Grace threw several parties in a row. After several days of drinking, I was dizzy and lightheaded. The next morning, I wanted to go out for a cup of soy milk, but before I could leave, I saw Chloe standing at the gate of the neighborhood, holding a huge bouquet of flowers. The cold winter wind made her nose turn red. Chloe stood there, puffing out air and stomping her feet while occasionally adjusting the flowers in her arms. When she saw me, her face lit up, and she ran over. William, I've finally waited for you. What are you waiting for me for? I asked her. I know I was wrong. The art exhibition is over. William, can we go home? Chloe's tone carried a cautiousness I had never heard before, a tone I never dared to imagine in the past. We had fought over Orion before, but each time, I had been the one to apologize. I had once hoped that Orion, who stood between us, would disappear. That one day, I could occupy a unique place in Chloe's heart. But when that day truly came, I realized I didn't need it anymore. Ignoring everything she said, I asked her, when will you sign the divorce papers? Hearing this, Chloe's face paled, and the expression on her face became filled with pleading. William, must we always talk about these hurtful things when we meet? Hurtful? I didn't think so. Compared to the hurtful things Chloe had said to me over the years for Orion, this question was hardly anything. Moreover, hadn't this always been what Chloe wanted? A legitimate, open identity as someone who loved Orion. Not wanting to say more, I laid everything bare. You don't have to sign, but I've already filed for divorce. The court hearing is next week. Make sure to show up. Chloe's face instantly turned ashen. She grabbed my sleeve, her face turning white. William, can we really never go back? I brought you something. Your favorite jasmine flowers. Chloe handed me the bouquet, but before the flowers could even get close, Grace, who had come out, snatched them away and tossed them into the trash. Does William have a pollen allergy? Are you trying to kill him? Chloe tried to say something more, but my face started swelling up rapidly due to the allergic reaction. With no time to say anything, Grace immediately drove me to the hospital. Chapter 6. The rapid allergic reaction caused me to lose consciousness. The doctor said I needed a blood transfusion, but my blood type was special, and the hospital didn't have a matching blood supply. Even if they tried to get some from the nearest place, it would be too late. Everyone was panicking, but Chloe, who was always terrified of pain, stepped forward. She rolled up her sleeve and offered to donate blood to me. When I woke up, Chloe's face was as pale as paper, but she still managed to pull out a weak smile and said, "You're awake. William, I'm so glad you're okay." I saw the bruise on her arm from where the needle had been, and a strange feeling stirred in my heart. I knew how much Chloe feared pain. She was so afraid of it that she wouldn't even undergo a physical examination. But to think that this same Chloe, who was terrified of pain, would cut her wrist for Orion. Suddenly, my restless heart calmed. I looked at Chloe and said, "Thank you." A happy smile spread across Chloe's face. "William, I'm so happy to donate blood for you. I've also booked a VIP ward for you." But before she could finish, I turned to Grace and said, "How much is 1 milliliter of blood?" "Pay her 3 times the market price." The joy on Chloe's face vanished instantly, replaced by deep, crushing despair. "William, I didn't donate blood for money, I know. But Chloe, I don't want any more connections with you, not even a little." I saw Chloe's face turn ashen, and she seemed like she wanted to say something, but my vitals were dropping rapidly. The attending doctor, seeing this, furrowed his brows tightly. "The patient is just starting to improve. He can't be emotionally agitated. Are you trying to kill him with your words?" "I'm not. I just want to talk to him." Chloe tried to explain but was directly escorted out by the doctor. For the next few days, she wasn't allowed to visit me at all. Chloe still stayed outside my hospital room. Every day, she brought me various nutrition-rich meals, but I didn't even glance at them. Grace kept her outside. The reason was simple. Most of the food Chloe brought was something I couldn't eat. There were even several items that were on my list of allergens. Sometimes, even Grace would ask in confusion, "William, you two really were together for 7 years. How come I feel like Chloe doesn't know you as well as I do? You clearly can't eat seafood or nuts." But she brought several dishes with those ingredients. Even after I told her, the next time she brings me food, it's the same allergic food. Does she want to take care of you? Or does she want to kill you with medicine? I just smiled. I believe Chloe genuinely wanted to take care of me. After all, we had been together for 7 years, and she had never stepped foot in a kitchen. Now, she was making a new, unique nutrition meal for me every day, but it was also true that after 7 years, she knew nothing about me. How else could I explain that Grace, who barely spent any time with me, knew my allergies, while Chloe, who lived with me day and night, knew nothing? I thought back to the past, when every year on Orion's anniversary, Chloe would carefully prepare offerings, repeatedly reminding the store what could and couldn't be included. Once, the store was too busy and forgot her instructions, and she flew into a rage, immediately filing a complaint against them. Love and indifference were so clear, but it didn't matter anymore, because I no longer loved her. What did it matter if Chloe remembered my allergies or treated me well? The court date came quickly. I hadn't been discharged, so Grace attended in my place. In court, Chloe insisted that our problems were all misunderstandings. She presented a lot of things I had done for her as evidence of our affection. Grace scoffed and simply pulled out an interview Chloe had done before she stopped writing, which was enough to prove that our relationship had long since fallen apart. Not to mention the art exhibition she had organized for Orion and the fact that she allowed people to slander me as the third party in her and Orion's relationship, without offering any explanation. In the end, the judge ruled for our divorce. The moment I received the divorce decree, Chloe fainted. Out of humanitarian concern, Grace called an ambulance for her and then walked away without looking back. Chapter 7. After the divorce, my recovery was swift. In less than a week, I was discharged from the hospital. Grace signed me on to her company, making me the star player in major competitions. She even gave me half of the company's shares. I felt uneasy about it, but Grace looked at me with a big smile. "What's wrong? Without you, this studio wouldn't even exist. Take it. If you're unhappy, it means you don't care about me." I had no choice but to accept, telling her I would keep the shares for now, and when she eventually got married, I would give them to her as a dowry. But Grace wasn't pleased. She muttered, "Who wants to get married? I don't want to get married. If I do, it has to be two." Her words were lost in the wind, but I understood Grace's feelings. Still, after my last relationship, I had been so hurt by Chloe that I needed time to heal my wounds. I also needed to clear some space in my heart, so that someone better could come in. In the following days, Grace and I didn't bring up any talk of romance. I focused entirely on the competitions, winning one world-class award after another. Along the way, I even broke several world records. In every competition, Grace was by my side. Her pockets seemed like Doraemon's, always pulling out things I loved. Through our joint efforts, the small club we once started had grown into a listed corporation. Our names, mine and Grace's, were printed on all kinds of promotional materials, and we became well known around the world. Another year's world championship arrived, and I broke my own record with a first-place finish. On the podium, I saw a familiar figure in the audience. It was Chloe. For more than a year, she had attended almost every one of my competitions. She even helped me analyze my strengths and weaknesses, as well as those of my competitors. Before this, Chloe had shown no interest in model design. She had even once scorned my hobbies, saying to my face that only people like Orion, who used a paintbrush to express their love for the world, understood what art was. What I did was nothing more than childish play. Now, she had taken up her pen, which she had held for many years, and was summarizing various strategies for me. Yet all I felt was annoyance. I didn't even glance at the thick piles of notes. I stuffed them all into the trash can. Eventually, I even told the staff around me, "Don't bring me things like that again. If you get them, just throw them away." Suddenly, a reporter's question interrupted my thoughts. "Mr. William, your entry this time is called Love Nest, and it is said to be designed for your beloved. Can you tell us who your lover is?" Chloe sat up straight in the audience, and I could see the flicker of hope in her eyes. She even nervously tugged at her clothes, but I didn't even look at her. I took Grace's hand and answered the reporter's question confidently. "Of course. Love Nest is a design I created for my beloved, Miss Grace. She's been by my side all year, and I'd like to take this opportunity to express my feelings to her, in front of the entire world." I knelt down, pulled out the ring I had prepared in my pocket, and asked Grace, "Grace, will you marry me?" Grace's face lit up with surprise. She covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes, and nodded yes. The applause was deafening, and we kissed, as if the whole world was just the two of us. The crowd was a blur, and I saw Chloe's face drain of color. Something in her hand seemed to slip and fall, but I didn't pay attention, because I had already taken Grace's hand and was walking toward the podium, where we would share the glory of being #1 in the world. By the time the awards ceremony ended, Chloe had disappeared. However, the cleaning staff found an unpublished book. On the title page, it read, "To the person I love most in this life." When I saw the name William in the title, I found it ridiculous. Grace came up from behind and asked if I had seen anything. "Nothing. By the way, where do you want to have the wedding?" "So soon?" "I haven't decided yet." "How about the Maldives?" Grace blushed and looked shy, and I nodded, taking her hand as we got into the car. Outside the venue, a familiar figure peeked out like a rat, spying on the happiness between Grace and me. But this time, I didn't look back.